I'm Margaret Rogers Van Coops, and I'm a professor, but more importantly, I'm a doctor where I look at the whole person. And I'd like to help you take a look at yourself. So let me explain who we are. We are biochemical people. In other words, inside our body is biology going on. We have organs, as you know, and every organ works by its digestive system, by absorbing the food that you eat and how you emotionally, mentally use your body. And of course, when you're working and moving, you have what we call cellular neuromuscular memory. Now, I'm sure some of you remember being in school when you were a little girl or boy and you desperately wanted to go to the toilet. You're putting your hand up like this, and the teacher's ignoring you, so you put the other hand up like this, and you feel like, oh, I'm never going to make it to the bathroom. Well, that was a long time ago, wasn't it? And maybe you're an adult now, and suddenly you're reaching up to the cupboard, and you want to get yourself something out of there. And as you reach, suddenly, for no apparent reason, you have the urge, you need the bathroom. And you think, well, I just went not 2 minutes ago, but I have to go, I've got this driving desire. And what you don't realize is that you've done that reach up again is a cellular neuromuscular memory that is saying to you, hey, when I was a child, I suffered because I wasn't allowed to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. So what actually happens is that we find ourselves reprogramming ourselves over and over again throughout our lives as we go emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually through the cellular neuromuscular memory. So where's that coming from? Your brain, left and right brain, part of you is thinking logically, and part of you is thinking emotionally. And when you get them mixed up, I can and I can't, I will and I won't, I shall and I shan't, what is the truth that you have? If your brain is running away with you, you might well be so worried, so upset, you just don't know what you're doing. And you feel crazy inside. And then all of a sudden, your body hurts. Your back goes out, your knees maybe have pain in your legs, thighs going up. And what you start to realize is that you feel like you're going to drop dead. Let's put it that way. Psychologically, emotionally, mentally, you feel like I've come to the end of the road. So what can we do for that? We can teach you to meditate. We can teach you in hypnosis that you are consciously awake in hypnosis, running all these cellular neuromuscular memories from your brain throughout every nerve, every muscle in your body. And of course, when your muscles and nerves get stressed, your bones slip out of place. And the next thing you know, you're in a lot of pain. But if we deprogram, if we do meditation, if we release stress, if we allow ourselves to breathe and use the body completely, and if we allow ourselves to connect to our spirit guides, our guardian angels, yes, we all have those, we plan that before we come in, then you start to know that you've got help from the oneness. And of course, when you ask for help, when you ask God for help is always there. Some stranger may turn up on your doorstep out of the blue who just says, I'm knocking on the door, I want to sell Avon to you, and you start chatting and they tell you about a yoga class you go to or should go to, or they want to know more about what you do and you want to know more about them, and suddenly you've got a friend and you can go somewhere together and you don't feel so lonely. I want you to understand there is always help. Nobody is left alone. If you're on your own, you've put yourself alone by those memories, by those cellular neuromuscular memories. And it's important to understand that you made them, you can change them. And you can change them by allowing yourself to go beyond your barriers, to come outside the box and say to yourself, I am a new person, reborn. I'm going to make my new memories. I'm going to put new energy. So if you run on the spot, if you're running on the treadmill like this, say, I am going to be different. I am going to have a nice time in a nice voice, in a nice way, so that you're not saying grumpy words. And as you do that, and I can tell you I did a lot of that through my life because I've had 3 marriages that all went wrong, and I blamed and shamed everybody but myself until I finally realized, hey, I'm thinking the wrong things. I'm doing the wrong things. I need to change the way I perceive the world. Today I'm happy to say that when I walk out that front door, I hear the birds sing and I say, thank you for singing for me today. I see a flower that's flourishing and I say, wonderful, it's so beautiful. I'm so grateful I have my eyes and I see it. We have to appreciate who we are, and I earnestly request to you to think to you, how beautiful am I inside? And what can I do to make my life the most happiest and most fulfilled thing that I do day by day, moment by moment, knowing that I am happy being me, because no one else is you. Nobody else thinks like you. Nobody gets inside your mind and sees the world from your point of view. Only you do. So you're responsible for allowing yourself to have a good point of view through your eyes, through your brain, through your body, to be here and say, I am that I am, and I do what I do. So don't forget that. Enjoy yourself. And after you've enjoyed yourself, what should we do? We could, for example, go dancing. I have a friend, she said, I can't dance. And I said to her, of course you can. She said, no, I can't. So I was doing a little bit of tap dancing, you know, because I used to do that when I was a kid, showing her that's dancing. She said, how do you do that? And she was just tapping the floor, copying me. And this is really true story. Today, she's in one of those senior classes with a bunch of women, and they actually appear on the stage at the school entertaining the kids. I didn't teach her how to tap, she joined a class, you know, all because I just showed her a couple of steps. It only takes a door opener to help you realize you can do more than you think you can. So never ever give up on yourself. Never tell yourself you can't do something. Just say to yourself, I'm able, I'm alive, and I can have a go. Someone else told me once that they couldn't speak other languages. I was forced to learn French when I was in school, and I was bad, I was dyslexic, you know, but I could copycat. And we all copycat, so think about that. When you're a little child and you're sucking your thumb and you're just watching people walking by, have you seen families? They all sit on the sofa together and they all go, okay? We copy, but you can copy as many people or models for you that are good for you to go out there, but you're not them. You have to remember that you're you. And if you copy them, you do it because you enjoy being like them, but you're not the same. Don't compare yourself. Don't try and be the same as they are. You can't outsmart them. They can't outsmart you. You know, it's like running a race and you want to be in a competition and you want to win. But isn't it more enjoyable to say, I'm actually running? And I actually don't mind if I don't win or not, because I'm actually out here breathing the air, having fun, running, playing. That's what you do when you're a child. You know, we had lots of races outside our buildings when I was a child, and the older boys always won. But I was a fast runner, so I wanted to beat them, okay? But when I got to be a teenager, they didn't want to kiss me because I was one of the boys, you know? So, you see, we set up things when we're doing things and we don't realize that we're making relationships. So those boys, years later after that, I'd gone nursing and I was coming home, and of course I put some makeup on, my hair was different. They didn't know it was me, and I walked on by, and they were giving me the wolf whistle, you know? And I was like, okay, Andrew, okay, Michael. There was like, oh my God, shock. But what joy for me to realize that after all those years ago when I wanted a kiss, but you know, what was games we used to pay, you know, and it was just a sitting back on the cheek. But it's important when you're that age and you're that young. And then all these years later, They're actually coming in and seeing me and going, you are a woman. And that's the most important thing, is to allow us to be able to be who we are. If you're a man or a woman, be in your shoes, walk tall, believe in your skills, your talents, recognize the past changes, so don't hang on to it. Instead, say to yourself, what did I learn? And if I didn't learn, why didn't I? Well, I was in my own way, so what? I'll move on. I'll do something else. I'll become something better. And in time, as you do that, you become someone that you love to be. Right? Now, I saw another client that was a while ago. She came in, she looked fantastic. She sat down, she was in Japan. Hair was all down, everything was beautiful, slim, skin was fantastic, and I'm giving the reading, and I'm counseling, and I'm telling everything. And the one thing I hadn't said, but I knew, I had a man sitting in front of me. And finally, she leaned across the table and said, excuse me, Dr. Margaret, but I better tell you I'm a man. And I said, I know you are. And he looked at me and said, how do you know? I said, because you told me the minute you came in, the way you sat down, the body language, the way you spoke, and your spirit guides are around me. So I knew you're a man, and I must congratulate you. You're better than I am, being a woman. You know, he was obviously a transvestite, and he was in the process of having all the things done that he wanted because he felt he was truly a female. So as a result of that, we spent quite a while talking about the burdens of being a woman. Because you see, he had a man's point of view on his femininity, and we as women sometimes have a problem with being feminine because we want to be wearing the boots. We want to be in control. We want to be the man. So yeah, we're all male and female. And that brings me to another thing. You have to remember, we've all reincarnated in past lives, and we've all in some way been a man or a woman, obviously. But guess what? You've also been an elephant, a cat, a cow, because the oneness evolves. We as humans have evolved. We've been tiny little one-cell beings in the beginning of all creation, energy. But we don't think about that. And now we're a massive energy. And we have to learn how biochemically we are able to manage this body and rise above the, shall we say, the poverty consciousness of I'm a poor me. I don't mean that in money. I mean that in terms of our values, our self-esteem, our self-worth. You know, everything that we do in some way, we're monitoring it, saying, well, I wasn't so good about that, or well, I did quite good there, but nobody else saw it, so nobody knows how good I am. I better blow my trumpet and start sharing who I am and what I'm doing. So all these things that we go through, you can sit, coming back to what I said earlier, go to a class like a yoga class, learn to reorganize your muscles or work on working out, moving your muscles. At the same time, stop telling yourself negativity, start being positive, saying like a mantra, if you like, a repetition in the beginning. I am a woman, I'm happy, I'm strong. I'm a man, I'm happy and I'm doing active stuff, whatever it is. And come back to center and love yourself. Because as long as you feel you're in your boots and you're you and you're in charge of what you do, then ultimately you're going to be happy and content. Now, the people around you, they're going to be going, what's happened to you? And when that happens, they're going to try and make you be the old you, because the old you is who you know, right? And you're fighting them for your freedom. You're fighting for your independence. Well, don't fight. That's where you go wrong. You can't, the more you say to people, I'm changing, I'm adapting, I'm growing, the more afraid they are, they're going to lose you. Loss is one of the biggest problems we have. But in actual fact, the more you stay in your power, the more you have to gain. And those people who realize ultimately your change is an example for them, if they're really true to you, will follow you. But if they're not, they fall away and you move on, and someday you'll be going, there was this person, I kind of remember them. and you know, I'm not sure what their name was or what they said, but you know, I remember the lesson. And here's someone right in front of you trying to repeat that lesson. It's a test. You have to realize that it's a reshuffle of the old you. And when that happens, you should embrace that, because it means you're into a new period in your life. You're into a new beginning. And when you're into a new beginning, anything can happen, so be open and receptive for the enjoyment of challenge, opportunities. You know, my husband passed over last December. This is 2019. And I spent 6 months processing how much I'd helped him stay alive for 15, 16 years. And so I went into meditation, and I found, because he was a very sick man in many different ways, which I won't bore you with internally, there wasn't one part of my body that I didn't have, even down to his hair that I used to perm. There wasn't one part of his body that wasn't in my body, because I'd been empathetic, sympathetic, harmonizing, giving all the time. And I gave it with joy, not with terror or anger, but yes, I had times of anger. We all get angry. But I'd release it. You know, if I needed to cry, I'd cry. If I needed to yell, I'd yell. And then in seconds later, I was back to my normal me. And he knew that. And so we had a working relationship, very much so, in my business as well as at home. But the ultimate thing is, after he was gone, I had to deprogram myself of every cell of him in me. And it took me 6 months to do it. Night after night, I would lay in bed, but the first 3 weeks, it was, oh my goodness, where's me? Not one of my cells was just me. And after about 3 weeks or so of doing it and talking with my friend who was staying with me, I was able to come back to, okay, here's me. But now I have to rebuild up me. And as I'm rebuilding up me, I'm also beginning to realize I'm still looking at some history I've forgotten about. And I had to work on that. So I'm saying to you, you know, anyone who's listening and watching this, is understand we are a work in progress. We never stop working on ourselves. And as I always say, I will be on my deathbed and I'll still be working. I want to leave the last debris behind before I go into the oneness. And it should be that way, because we should see that life is an opportunity to really transform daily, even momentally, in the blink of an eye. I've written many books. In fact, I've got 17 books. I've spoken in, I lost count, about 20 countries in the world. And I've particularly taught a lot of Japanese people over 28 years. They say over more than 20,000 people. In France before that, they said I probably talked about 500-600, and I thought that was a lot in those days. But when I was in England, I did a lot of mind, body, and spirit events, and we were ahead of the world in those days. I was born in 1942, so by the time I was 20, I was a medium in the country, and nobody ever believed a 20-year-old could be a medium. Here my throat, that's a throat chakra block, and I will be working on that one. And so what I have to understand here, I was fighting to prove that I could be a medium to people who were 60-odd, who said you couldn't be a medium till you had some experience in life. And what does a 20-year-old know? Because in those days, they still believed a 20-year-old was not an adult. But by the time I was 35, I became known as the teacher of mediums in England, because I was taking the older ones and making them better. Because the idea in those days was, sorry, I have to clear it. I'm a medium, and my particular thing is psychometry. Oh, I'm another medium, my particular thing is clairvoyance. Oh, I'm another medium, I'm clairsentient, and so on. And I had it all together. I didn't specialize in one thing or another. I could do anything. And people are saying, how can you do that? You shouldn't be able to do that. That's not possible. Here today, we got children who are born with 3 or 4 extra DNA strands. And they're 2 years old and they're reading. They're telling you what it was like 5,000 years ago because it's in their DNA and they're awakened to that. So we cannot say to those children, you're not psychic. We have to say, hey, you are very sensory in perceptions to all things, both physically, materially, emotionally, and of the spirit world, and of aliens, and anything else that you want to talk about, because everything is possible. And I know aliens are possible because I've been many, many times on the ships, and I've worked with many of the children, helping them grow up, because the Greys that I work with were very intellectual, very telepathic, which I'm also very telepathic with them. And the bottom line is their language is, the Zetas is what everyone calls them. Their real name is Chit. Most people can't say it, so okay, Zetas. And the bottom line is that their language is at the back of the throat. Okay, so if they're talking, like if I wanted to say hello, how are you, there is no such words in their language. They don't say hello, how are you. Their greeting is, I'm here. And so when they're talking, it's very much like, that's basically saying I'm 20. And I had, you don't translate it. Do you understand? Here in our languages, we think, okay, think French, what's the verb, what's the noun? It's not like that. They don't have a language like that. Their language is the fact. I'm here, I do this, I do that. We're going to do this, we'll do that. So when they talk to us in our language, they sound stilted. They sound like they don't care about us. It isn't the case. They're just not used to the emotional motivations that we have here on Earth. So what actually happens is when they have a quantum amount of children that need to be trained because they're hybrids, as people call them. We never called them that when I was working there. They were just our children, and we would teach them how to use their emotions, because if they're hybrids and they got the intellect of the aliens, then they've also got the emotions. So that brought me back to realizing, hey, Margaret, you've got intellect, you've got emotions, and that's why I became a psychologist, psychiatrist, nurse, doctor, and I learned all that by the time I was 12. So I was on my journey throughout my life. And on that, whoops, losing my balance. Now on that pretty note, I'm going to leave you and wonder, and I do say, if you need to talk to me, my last thing to say here is Professor Margaret, rvc@gmail.com. Come to easypeasysolutions.org, where I will be working with Katie Kamara, who's a wonderful lady, who's very talented like me, and we will be able to give you counsel and guidance and a lot more. And I have also Sumari's Education Center, that's a new one now being put up, and universalchristchurch.com as well. So thank you for listening to me, and I hope you'll be very happy. And if you're not, reach out. We're here for you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.